as we're going to see another deck full of Bloodletter Slashers and Archfiends coming out of Rakdos Demons in the hands of Eric. And we're also going to have Andrew on good old Izzet Phoenix, a little bit of an older version of the list. We chatted earlier, and unfortunately, he was not able to procure Artist Talents just yet, which unfortunately is one of the better cards against the Rakdos Demons deck, so this is going to make it a little rough, but looks like we are going to go to 6 on Andrew's side. Eric's decided to keep, and yeah, should be a pretty interesting matchup. I'll be really intrigued to see how Andrew decides to move through this matchup because, yeah, some big toughness blockers in the air when Eric's running 10. Not really a very fun time for Phoenix.
No, not at all, especially the fact that the Phoenixes may be on blocking and coming back duty, and you wind up having Archfiend of the Dross, so you're draining life every single time that winds up happening, and then if you wind up having your Bloodletter out there, well, all of a sudden that's being doubled, so it's 4, and it's probably even better to just take a couple hits then.
Yeah, and I know that, I also know that we do have Torch the Tower in Eric's deck as well, so that's also not great. But exiling those Phoenixes. And already we have, oh boy, I think, what was that, double sleight of hand or double opt?
Double opt and a bunch of lands here. So Andrew's going to wind up just playing a land pass in the turn, and something tells me if there's another Thoughtseize effect, we're just going to see the opt fired off.
Wow, that's an opt.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
All right, and then we just untap and draw for turn, and now we'll have to see here. If there's no Artist Talents, we're probably still on Ledger Shredder version, and Ledger Shredder version probably is not as good into Fatal Push deck.
No, and it's really not the best place to be. You always want to wait till turn 3 to deploy your Ledger Shredder, just because you're worried about running into a something very powerful, a removal spell of many different varieties, but we are getting Unholy Annex, probably the card that has been the reason why these Demons deck are on the rise. A Phyrexian Arena that is also a win condition that also makes a demon.
It does everything.
It does everything you want.
It's like the best Phyrexian Arena ever printed.
Yeah. All you need to do is make sure you just always have a demon in play, which is usually... Oh, wow. Who would have thought? It was a Ledger Shredder, followed by an opt.
Oh, that's a third opt there from Andrew's side. So
I guess there's not many options for him to play.
Well, there are 3 options for him to play.
How did we get?
Oh gosh,
Right,
our dad jokes are hitting too hard.
It's just perfect. I mean, I'm loving this, but we wind up seeing, unfortunately, Knive discards a land. Andrew is probably trying to look for spell action or something along those lines, so not wanting to discard those to a Ledger Shredder that could potentially be pushed off a cliff despite having wings somehow. And if just a pass back to the turn here to Eric, who is contemplating what to do here, as we do wind up having 3 lands in play, Unholy Annex, as you mentioned, 2 lands away from it creating a demon, but a crucial turn to play land 4 in any number of these giant threats from the Demons deck.
Yeah, turn 4 is really the crucial turn because it's where you get to play one of your, again, Bloodletter or Archfiend. However, I can also see just possibly playing one of your many powerful 3-drops. It looks like we did get another freeze, but fortunately Eric has not really done much so far. So let's go ahead and reactivate here. We are still thinking about what we want to do here because not only do we have the Annex, but we also have 6 demons on 4. We have your slashers. We just have a Fatal Push, getting the bird out. And now we have a plethora of 3-drops as well. We could be playing a Fable of Mirror Breaker or maybe just passing the turn.
Second Unholy Annex? Why the heck not? Let's draw 2, lose 4, and we have a Bloodletter in hand, so we're not going to be losing much life after that. Most importantly, good sequencing of events here from Eric's side by Fatal Pushing the Ledger Shredder first and not allowing an additional card draw off that Connive triggers.
Yeah, so, yeah, we're going to 12, but getting 2 additional cards.
That sounds like greatness at half price.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just drawing 2, passing the turn back over to Andrew's side, and it is just going to be
the
opt
4th opt in the top, what, like 15 cards?
That is a golden opportunity right there.
Oh boy. And I believe we did put a land away, and Ledger Shredder came just a spell too late, unfortunately, and we haven't found land number 4 because we ditched it initially, so now...
It's interesting, actually, because we had a grip full of lands previously, and all right, Bloodletter's coming down.
All right, so since Andrew is tapped out, we're going to be hit for 8 on end step and gaining 4.
Yeah, so this is just going to be not just a swap of life totals, but Eric actually going up in life here, going up to 16, drawing 2 cards and losing or dealing the damage to Andrew, getting it double by this Blodletter of Aclazotz, and now we're in that awkward stage where that 1/3 bird is staring down a 2/4 vampire demon, and neither of them really want to attack. But Prosthetic Memory coming up from Andrew is a great way to start making this Ledger Shredder big enough to block or potentially swing through.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think the clock's gonna be fast enough because this is 8 damage a turn. It's much more impactful to block here, but we did bin a Phoenix with a lightning axe, and we are getting our connive trigger as well. We're not gonna be able to cast spell number 3 this turn because we did use a Profts. However, we have since drawn 2 additional cards since our draw step, so we are going to be putting another 2 counters. And that Ledger Shredder has the freedom to swing for, what is that?
We are going to have a third one. We forgot about one of the best cards in Pioneer still. Treasure Cruise for 1 mana.
Oh, of course, you know, good old Ancestral Recall, legal in the format. But,
this is going to be a big Ledger Shredder.
yeah, it's going to be chunky. Maybe we can race now. Unfortunately, again, the Phoenix isn't coming back because, crucially, the Prof's Eidetic Memory is an enchantment, not an instant or sorcery. And it looks like Andrew's deciding to kind of chill, not wanting to put in additional stuff. I think we're just making a demon here to continue to drain. We'll go up to 20, and Andrew will be down at 8 after this turn cycle. We are tapped out, and crucially, the 6/6 doesn't die to Lightning Axe.
Yeah, it doesn't die to Lightning Axe, and it doesn't even die to this 5/6 Ledger Shredder, which is probably one of the largest Ledger Shredders I've seen.
However, I see 2 Shieldred's Edict in hand, so that's pretty good when we don't have a Phoenix in play.
Oof, that's real good when you don't have a Phoenix in play. So the world is Eric's oyster here. Maybe potentially considering, do I want to lose life this turn, remove the Ledger Shredder while Andrew is tapped out, or do I play an Unstoppable Slasher and potentially follow up with that Shieldred's Edict? Oh, that's a FOMO. Sorry. All those cards look the same.
Yeah, I do like all the fun arts in this deck. So in our little search tool, Tom decided to say that we were in fear of missing gout.
I'm just really hungry, you know?
Oh, Lord. But yeah, so FOMO is the first spell of the turn. We may want to add... It's interesting. Now we don't actually want to cast our Shieldred's Edict. We may just pass here and untap, and then on upkeep instantly cast the Shieldred's Edict to make sure that we don't end up doing anything. Or we might just let Andrew kind of do his turn, and once the counters are directed to the Shredder, then cast it.
Yep.
But
we have a sleight of hand. Not going to be adding counters with Prof's Eidetic Memory because that is not a draw spell.
it's a cantrip, but not a draw spell.
All right, we have another 1 mana being tapped. That's... Oh, Consider. That draws a card. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, good old classic Phoenix. Looking through, being able to see 2 cards per cantrip and just finding the right stuff. Bending a land here with the Ledger Shredder, so we're not going to be getting an additional counter. We are considering this top card. We have decided to put it in hand, which means it's probably not a Phoenix, but some sort of removal of some kind. Or some other way to get our Phoenix back.
Is this spell number 3?
Yeah, so that was spell number 2. So we are tapping mana for spell number 3 here. Another Consider. And yeah, so we have Phoenix coming back. I would assume we are... Oh, Picklock Pranks are hitting the bin. Interesting.
Yeah, that's real interesting here. Although it looks like Andrew doesn't have additional lands. So this... now this is interesting. We have Phoenix and we have Prof's Trigger. So is this going to be able to resolve the Prof's Trigger here? And oh, did we exile the Phoenix with our Treasure Cruise?
Whoa, that would have been a big mistake here. We did have a Shieldred's Edict coming out on Andrew's turn as well, which does take out the Ledger Shredder, and now really on the back foot here because there's going to be demons aplenty from Eric now because we have so much mana and we've drawn, frankly, quite a few cards, including good old Mutavault, best demon on the deck.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask if there was a Phoenix coming back and the Prof's eidetic memory triggering, would we have been able to put the counters on the Phoenix after the Phoenix came back?
So when the trigger goes on the stack for Profs, it has to have a target.
Okay, so it has to, but okay, so the target has to be there even if it's underneath the Phoenix on the stack. So even if the Phoenix
Exactly.
coming back first, you'd still be targeting the Ledger Shredder. So Eric would have been able to shield your D-deck at any point in time before the Phoenix hit the battlefield.
Yeah, so it worked out. It was no big deal. We are confirming if we have Delirium. It looks like we do have Delirium because I saw land. We know an instant and a sorcery for sure. And yeah, FOMO just doing the extra combat thing. Does Andrew decide to Lightning Axe pitch a Brazen Borrower? That's a lot of action that's in Andrew's graveyard. I guess there's even more action in hand,
I think it's a sleight of hand and a second Picklock Prankster, which would explain why you'd been the first one. But like you said, Eric could just make a demon here, play a demon here. This demon even costs less.
Yeah, this is the single worst nightmare card for Izzet Phoenix. This is one of the main reasons why a lot of folks wanted to play this list at recent RCs. Archfiend of the Dross is a 6/6 flyer, great blocker for Phoenix, doesn't die to Lightning Axe, and every time they decide to let a Phoenix die or any of their other creatures, they lose 2 life. Not something you want to be seeing or doing on the other side.
Nope.
And
how about a Ledger Shredder? What if that dies? Does that lose you 2 life?
yeah, unfortunately it does.
Dang it.
Yeah. And unfortunately it dies to a lot of the removal spells in Eric's deck. However, we also do have the Picklock Bracer, possibly. Maybe a sleight of hand coming in. Looks like the Connive trigger has gone on the stack, so we are letting it resolve first. And yeah,
Well, probably could have used that land.
you know, it's we're just trying to find the right cards, be able to play the right spells. I think at this point it's kind of locked up because we're gonna have a guaranteed 4 damage next turn from the rooms if they aren't removed, and the Archfiend is gonna either kill the Shredder or connect. So you're gonna either go to 2 without a creature or 0, or creature just dies and we kind of have GG here.
Yeah, it's 6 from the Archfiend alone right there, and that's going to be Andrew going down to 6 because of the Archfiend trigger.
So yeah, it should just be a nice clean attack, KO, all that good stuff. And we're Bloodletter for good measure. We're wrapped up. Next game, here we go.
Yeah, so just in case that wasn't enough there, Eric had the double Unholy Annex, we had the Bloodletter, we had a Mutavault that could attack, we had all sorts of goodies that were going to be coming down from Eric's side. So that's going to be wrapped up with a nice little bow there as Rakdos Demons takes game number 1 over Izzet Phoenix.
Yes, and he's doing the thing. He's pulling up my sideboard guide. So yes, Eric's actually using my list that I've been tweaking for quite a while. I finally have my 75 down pat. If you're interested in seeing some gameplay, you should hit up my YouTube channel. I've been putting a lot of effort into it because I love this deck and I want to share it with the world.
And
it
what's
is
that YouTube?
super, super cool. YouTube channel is at Hermes the Nerd. One word, nice and clean. And yeah, we are going to open sideboard here because honestly, this is probably the single best matchup for Rakdos Demons just because of how much all of the cards just absolutely eat up Phoenix. You're able to run 2 Torch of Towers, which, don't care. You're able to run so much Exile and go blank. And, I mean, just your creatures just do so much damage in this matchup anyway.
And this, of course, is just the community that we've kind of cultivated here at Carta. Everybody's super friendly with one another. Even if you haven't actually been here before, I definitely will talk your ear off about Magic any given point in time of the day. So, of course, if this were Comp REL, you look at your phone, that is public information. Eric putting it on the table saying, I'm just going to sideboard face up because you can see my sideboard if you want to. That's how the rules work. And Andrew saying, you know what? I'm going to put mine face down. I'm going to be a little mysterious with my sideboard. More importantly, I'm going to make it not known to the casters what I'm sideboarding, but this is your deck anyway. You would know what Eric was sideboarding if he turned around, turned the camera off and threw it in the garbage. So
Exactly. So just a bit of an explanation for kind of some of these choices. we are going to be boarding in 1 Torch to Tower, 2 Go Blinks, 2 Extinction Events, the Sweeper and Removal spell, all Exile, which is great against Phoenix.
Yep.
And the Go Blinks, just exile your graveyard and discard 2 cards. So it's honestly, that is usually a 3-for-1 because you're taking out a resource and 2 cards in hand for Phoenix. Really, really powerful spell in the matchup. And boarding out, weirdly enough, and this just happens a lot of matchups that have reasonable removal, you usually trim a Bloodletter just because they're going to be prepared for it, probably bringing in additional removal for it. So just trim one down. Bloodletter dies to Axe really easily, so just that's fine. We don't need the combo fully online. We have plenty of other demons.
Yeah.
Other than that, Duress I've always found particularly bad because honestly the cards I always want to take out of hand from Phoenix are typically the 2-drop creatures. Which Duress doesn't hit.
Nope.
You can consider sleight of hand all you want. I do not want you casting Free the Fae.
And if you're putting in your Go Blanks, you're basically effectively shutting off their treasure cruises as well because you're exiling their graveyard. So the main target for Duress being that treasure cruise, if you're going to be removing their ability to cast it in any reasonable amount of time anyway, you're probably just going to want to remove the Duresses. So that makes a lot of sense. From the flip side, though, on the Phoenix side of things, their sideboards have changed up a little bit more as time has gone on. I know this is not the artist talent version, so I'm not entirely sure if Andrew's going to still be running the Crackling Drake sideboard plan, or if they're going to be going towards something a little bit different. I know some of the newer lists have kind of pivoted away from Crackling Drake a little bit, gone a little bit more hard on like the Young Pyromancer side of things, and just kind of looked at the list as more of like an all-in on the Phoenix plan, which, as you mentioned, is probably why the Rakdos deck has a very good matchup against it.
Yeah, the one card that you usually do not want to see in this matchup that is the backbreaker is that artist talent, but since Andrew has mentioned it's not on it, unfortunately, that does kind of clear the way for demons to really just be able to punch through and be able to cleanly end up taking the game. Looks like players are drawing their opening 7. But yeah, honestly, I'm probably just bringing in, if we have additional profs on the sideboard, probably bringing those in. I know Third Path I Iconoclast as well as another one of those young pyro kind of effects, this time making 1/1 artifact creatures.
Yeah, just the 1/1 soldiers instead of the red elementals. They're colorless artifact creatures.
Yeah, and sometimes that matters, for stuff like Knockout Blow.
Yeah, that definitely works. The other thing I'm going to be interested in is how many Brazen Borrowers are in Andrew's sideboard, because that is kind of the way that we've gone for the Izzet Phoenix side. You're not running Crackling Drakes anymore. You're really relying on those token generators and then having those extra Brazen Borrowers, which are still 3 damage flying threats in the sky, which don't necessarily do well into the demons, but is legitimately one of your only answers to Unholy Annex on the battlefield.
Yeah, and you really want to spell pierce the Annex. That's because on the flip side, I would argue, even though the creatures are a big headache for this Izzet Phoenix deck to try and handle, the real enemy for the deck is the Unholy Annex. That allowing your opponent to keep up and potentially get ahead of you in card advantage as the deck that's trying to go through their list as quickly as possible. That's usually not where you want to be.
No, not at all. Like, card advantage is Phoenix's game, and that is how the deck that has combo, control, and mid-range elements all tied together really kind of comes out ahead in all of its matchups. Also, your opponent mulligans to 5. That's probably like a good spot to be in, as well as the mulligan. Unfortunately, the camera didn't like it, so decided it was going to take a quick little break from broadcasting there. But yeah, the card advantage from Phoenix, it is not a true tempo style deck the way that we saw the Azorius Spirits deck in round number 1 play out, but it is one of those decks that when it has advantage of how the game is going, it's very difficult for the Phoenix deck to lose it as long as it is cantripping and replacing its cards in hand.
Exactly. But yeah, going down to 5 here, really, really rough. But honestly, what's nice about the deck is that you also have cards like Fate Balloon Mirror Breaker and FOMO, and frankly, the Annex itself to help you get out of these jams, to find the action that you need to be able to get through it. Looks like Eric is kind of laughing in disbelief again, possibly another low land count hand. Because of just having all these ways to filter through your deck, the list does run a pretty low land count for a deck that's trying to hit 5, just because you have so many ways to just toss a card and draw a new one. So you're always trying to look for a land, at least land number 4. That's where the deck really hits its stride in terms of the mana base. And yeah, we settle on a 5, and one of those cards is a Fable of the Mirror Breaker.
Yeah, as I say, we have one of those ways to find our stuff, which is Fable the Mirror Breaker. And looks like we're just going to play, I believe that's Blood Crypt Tap. So going to have that one coming on in. And now Andrew, being on the play this time around, is going to have a little bit of advantage. The classic passing of the turn here signals to me Picklock Pranksters free the Fae side. And this double mana here from Eric, it looks like that's going to be FOMO.
And we are, okay. I mean, yeah, we were trying to look for action, but maybe we actually just flooded out, possibly. However, we do have, it's an Archfiend in hand, but we can get into that later. We have a good old FOMO so far, which is, again, spectacular card. We can get extra combats. Looks like we are starting off with a Ledger Shredder, and then following that up with an Axe, pitching a something. Looks like just a land. Just wanted to get rid of that, but that just means that Eric's next fear of missing out probably will hit Delirium, because now we have 3 card types in the graveyard with just two things in there.
I'm pretty sure Andrew missed the Delirium trigger. Sorry, a Connive trigger there as well.
No, because we also discarded a land to the Ledger Shredder.
Oh, okay, so it was a land that was discarded to the... Okay. I saw the land being discarded to the Lightning Axe and missed on that one, but it looks like Eric just going to wind up passing back, playing that Fable the Mirror Breaker, passing the turn back on over to Andrew's side, and Andrew with a pretty slow 7.
Yeah, I mean, it's slow and safe. I think definitely keeping a hand with a Lightning Axe is a really good call here, because there's one, the creatures on the Rakdos Demon side are quite big, and Lightning Axe is a great outlet to put Phoenixes in the graveyard if you'd like to. We have not missed a land drop yet on going to 5, so
Pretty solid.
Pretty good. We currently only have 3 card types in graveyard, so still no Delirium just yet.
Yeah, Eric's missing the fact that FOMO is both an enchantment and a creature, as he has 2 representing the 3 that should be in the graveyard.
Yeah, but I mean, do we slam Archfiend here? Do we try and kill the Shredder and double spell? I'm interested to see what possible plans Eric might have for this turn, because there's a lot of open mana here, which can represent Disdainful Stroke, Negate, Spell Pierce, whole bunch of things we do not want to see.
I'd be surprised to see a Disdainful Stroke coming out from the Phoenix sideboard. I hadn't seen those normally. I'm normally seeing things like Mystical Disputes, Negates, and that kind of stuff. But with the advent of this Demons deck, seeing things like Disdainful Stroke might not be the worst thing in the world for the deck. And we are going to see a second FOMO hit the battlefield. So the first FOMO is no mo, but this one comes back again. And Eric now thinking about combat, does he just want to getting a treasure token and says, no, I'm just going to pass?
Yeah, probably not the worst idea. Just pass the turn, just in case Andrew may have a way to cast 2 spells. But it looks like we're just Odowaring the token. That's why we had 4 open mana this entire time. That's a pretty funny play right there. And, you know, that works too. But unfortunately, that means we're getting double combat next turn with FOMO.
Yeah, because we have Thoughtseize now hitting the graveyard off of that second FOMO. So we have 4 card types in graveyard. So we have double combats.
Ooh, okay. And we also have a flipping Fable next turn. However, there's a couple of spicy cards in Eric's hand here. We have both an Archfiend of the Dross and a Go Blank. So if it looks like we might be 1 turn too late for this Go Blank, because looks like we are casting a cruise with not the entire graveyard. Not the worst idea here. We are pitching a Fire Impulse because, you know, no more creatures. And yeah, just getting a lot of cards, swinging in for 2. Not too bad to start here for Andrew with this kind of wonky 7 that we kept.
All right, so it was Andrew's turn 5 of game 2. It was the first time he's done damage to Eric this entire round so far.
Oh, right, because it was just the annexes last time.
The Unholy Annex that was dealing the damage to Eric last time around. So, first blood, so to speak, coming out here from Andrew.
Yeah, and once again, resetting the cameras real quick, we have a flipped Fable of the Mirror Breaker, Reflections of Kiki Jiki. Probably one of the scariest creatures to see on any battlefield in Pioneer. And again, Eric's got quite a few choices. I think right now, since we just had a Treasure Cruise cast, probably not going to be casting the Go Blank here. I'm more interested in probably playing the Archfiend, or it looks like we found Second Fable as well.
Okay.
Both of those are phenomenal cards to be putting in play here. Although Andrew may actually only have the 3 cards in hand.
I think it's consider Crackling Drake, which are not bad cards to have in hand as a Phoenix
Especially
player.
when we have 4 lands and we have a Go Blank. Because, yeah, who cares? You threw away all my spells into exile. Crackling Drake counts the spells in exile.
All right, so Fable number 2 comes on in. We're going to get another Goblin Shaman token, and most importantly, we're 2 turns away from Fable Extravaganza shenanigans coming out from Eric's side.
Yeah, and not only that, but I have a feeling hopefully we find the land next turn, because if we do find the land next turn, we can cast Archfiend and then instantly make a token copy to just start swinging and just really turn in the corner. That would be a really powerful play, however. I mean, just making additional Goblin Shamans to be able to get treasure and all that fun stuff. This is a pretty good spot for, honestly, both decks to be in.
Andrew here going for Connive Trigger off of this Ledger Shredder. The second spell being cast. First was an op, second is a Consider. One thing that Andrew does have to consider, though, is how many cards he has in hand if that Go Blank is on his radar. If you wind up playing a land off of this Consider or something and then passing the turn with 2 cards in hand, it could be a blowout from Eric's side.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that Phoenix really always has to kind of keep in check is always just
Okay, we got Fire Impulse. That's going to take out the Reflection.
However, doing so may put us a bit lower on cards than we want to be.
I think we're on 2 in hand.
Dumb goblins.
Erickson, why didn't you take the Dumb Goblin this time? You auto-warred it last time.
Nope, just kidding.
Never mind.
Follow-up cruise. Who cares? They always have it.
Damn, I didn't even realize that we had gotten 7 cards in graveyard already.
Yeah, you know.
Oh, that Go Blank's looking way less attractive now.
Yeah, because
we play the land.
Yeah, now we're at either 3 or 4 cards in hand. So we still have the Drake being held on.
I think we're at 3, yeah, because we had 1 card in hand, which was the Drake when we played Treasure Cruise, and then we wound up playing a land after drawing 3 cards, so we should be at 3 in hand. So Andrew's still protecting that Crackling Drake from the double discard.
Oh, it looks like we may have missed. Okay, there we go. Yeah. Eric's like realizing, wait, I have a Fable trigger first before I even go to combat.
Yeah. We drew. We didn't make any game actions. We flipped that die over. Eric probably wants to get this treasure token because it looks like there's no lands in hand. There's all gas. Not the worst spot to be in, but we are kind of in single spell territory. And it looks like Eric is considering pitching some of those big spells.
Interesting to see the Archfiend going to the graveyard, especially given that Archfiend just trades with a Crackling Drake, which is one of your biggest concerns. It doesn't die to any of your burn removal, so you're going to have to use some of your other plays. We do have a treasure, though, which means Fatal Push is turned on for any sort of 4-drops coming down, which is pretty nice, at least. And, oh, big play. Shieldred's Edict, getting rid of the first bit of pressure. And, yeah, now we have a Go Blank coming through. Boy, all right, so we're losing a lot of resources from Andrew's side, but Crackling Drake's coming down next turn.
Crackling is going to be pretty big. I mean, this thing is probably going to be double-digit power pretty soon, if not already. So the Shieldred's Edict was used to get rid of the Ledger Shredder. Crackling Drake says, boom, going to replace itself by drawing a card, and now we get the count. Let's hear what Andrew has to say.
All right, I'm hearing we are approaching...
10.
Okay, yep, double digits.
There we
Jinx.
go.
You're gonna get me a soda after this, right?
Yeah, I got that. We've got the Mountain Dew gotcha out front. Oh, man. Do you know that one of the inside jokes I have with my wife is actually when she jinxes me, I owe her boba. And do you know how much more expensive boba is than a can of soda?
Lord.
Yeah, that's why we're married.
Silicon Valley, gosh, everything's inflated here, including the prices for jinxes.
Oh, yeah. But here we see just a pass back of the turn to Eric, who's now facing down 10 flying damage in the air. Most importantly, 1 mana left available. There's a Blodletter of Aclazotz. At the very least, that is going to be able to block for a turn.
Yeah, not too bad here. It's at least something, but Unfortunately, we did use the treasure token last turn, and we don't want to attack in here. Also, saying we don't have an attack definitely tells you we don't have the Fatal Push in hand. I'm wondering what that last card is, because it looks like we are completely out of gas on Eric's side, and yeah, Andrew's just going to be able to keep going wide, going big, and oh boy.
This is looking a little bit scary. Now, one thing that Eric can do is Eric can kind of take one hit from the Crackling Drake, which should be at 11 after this sleight of hand. So Eric can potentially take one hit from the Crackling Drake. We still have a reflection of Kiki Jiki, and most importantly, Blodletter of Aclazotz is not a legendary creature.
Yeah.
So there is the ability that this Bloodletter can be copied and double block the second attack from the Crackling Drake.
So actually, even more, if Eric decides to tap out and isn't looking at the map here,
we're gonna blast him and we'll see if I can
Bloodletter
build something.
is 16 damage
One more now.
in the air.
Sleight of hand.
That's a lot.
So obviously doubling a double is very powerful. Doubling 2 to go up to 4, but we have the impulse for the answer, and that is definitely not happening. Phoenix never doesn't have it.
Well, actually,
I mean, the only time they don't have it is when they don't have it.
no.
I think Kai Buddha said that.
Anything else? Nope.
Yes, and
Alright, great.
stuck on 4, passing the turn, and what do we find? It looks like possibly another FOMO?
Oh, it looks like that might have been a Fire Impulse before damage, since we're seeing on the life pads here, Eric is down to 3, so we're going to update what the players are tracking.
Mm-hmm.
And so what do we got here? Eric is facing down dead next turn if there's a removal spell for Bloodletter. We already saw 2 Lightning Axes, though, so Eric probably knows his Bloodletter's alive for now.
Yeah, so we are now just
Oh.
seeing if we can find what we need, and it was a land. Going to game 3.
All right, so Andrew's able to even things up here. Izzet Phoenix on the play, takes things a little slow, a little steady, but is able to come out ahead and force game number 3 in round number 3 of Pioneer Tuesday.
Yes, and man, it was really that crucial play from Andrew to just kind of like really hold that Drake back, let Eric kind of buy into all that interaction, and then as soon as he was out of gas, bam, massive creature. What are you gonna do?
Die.
Yeah,
That's what happened. You just die.
exactly.
We saw Eric also trying to fight through like you said, the Phoenix deck never doesn't have it. We saw 2 Lightning Axes, very timely. 2 Fire Impulses, also very timely. And then the Ledger Shredder that was positioning just enough of a threat or a stone wall from Eric's clock side that it ate up the Shieldred Edict from Eric's side. So just the way that the Phoenix deck not only drew its correct answers at the correct time, but also the sequence of the events in which they happened helped Andrew really kind of lock Eric out of a mulligan to 5. Let's not forget that one. A mulligan to 5 that looked really good.
Well, yeah, that's kind of what happens when you have 12 cards in the deck that just give you additional cards and additional looks. It's one of the reasons why I really like what the deck's doing here. But yeah, it looks like Eric has decided to kind of swap up some sideboard changes. I can definitely see with seeing the Crackling Drake bringing back in some of the removal spells that were initially boarded out to just have additional answers.
Which removal spells were those? Are they Go for the Throats, Bitter Triumphs, like
So
stuff like that? Or
yeah, so
Fatal
the
Pushes?
3 2-mana removal spells that the deck is running in the main are going to be 2 Shieldred's Edict and 1 Heartless Act. Heartless
Heartless
Act
Act,
just
yeah.
being a fun little tech card for mirrors to be able to get the insta-win off of Archfiend of the Dross, as well as being able to just take off your counters from your slasher, which is something I love mentioning because it's such a cute little interaction, to be able to surprise your opponent with just a quick kill. But yeah, it's kind of bringing in those are the main reason there is because the main reason those typically get boarded out is because obviously Phoenix is really annoying. So if they do stick on the Phoenix plan, Edict is not really the best card, and Heartless Act is not great into Ledger Shredders or into a Prof's Eidetic Memory.
Well, Eric looks like on the play this time, but is going.
I saw
to-
lands and spells, but it looks like it wasn't enough.
I think Eric looked at more than 7 there because it looked like he looked at the opening hand and then took a couple more off the top and was just grimacing at the fact that everything they may have wanted was going to be in those follow-up cards instead of the cards that they actually drew for their opening hand. But let's take Andrew on the opposite side, though, on the draw this time around, keeping another 7.
Yeah. Phoenix typically keeps most 7s as long as they have 1 land and 1 cantrip. So they're able to, especially on the draw, they're going to be looking at 4 cards before needing to hit land number 2. They should be fine. So they can kind of keep basically anything as long as they have land and cantrip.
It looks like Andrew has at least 2 lands, and I think I saw a Consider in hand as well, so that's already kind of checking all the boxes for the Phoenix deck. Now, what is Eric going to be looking for from a hand of 6 here?
Hand of 6. A hand of 6 it isn't terrible. You don't need a draw engine. You just want to make sure you are able to hit your lands and be able to put pressure, interact. In particular, one of the biggest things here is just ensuring you get a threat online. That's on because in this kind of a matchup, I would argue that it really is back and forth, and you need to be able to play both the beatdown and the aggro at all times if you're in either seat. Because it really is kind of a mid-rangey battle, and neither list can really sit on their laurels and wait for the opponent, or can go all in on the attack.
Well, we did have just a starting of a tapped castle locked lane with no other lands in play, and a passing back to Andrew, who played Spire Bluff Canal for turn. Eric going to wind up playing out a Mutavault here, so we have the awkward black, colorless, no red, and we are going to wind up having Spell Pierce to fight off this Thoughtseize coming in.
Honestly, that's actually pretty good for Eric here, because that means that we're going to be able to more likely resolve one of our other non-creature spells. However, I negate. So now with 2 mana up, looks like Andrew has decided to really be the control deck, and we are just swinging with Mutavault here because we don't want to push anything else. Push anything else out, and this is actually a pretty interesting bait on this. Yeah, we're just gonna take 2 and possibly pass the turn. I guess maybe holding up a fatal push for a say a young Pyro or a Ledger Shredder or something like that.
Yeah, that was an interesting kind of series of events there. Eric just kind of going to activate an plan, and Andrew really weighing, like, man, if I have a Fire Impulse here and I Stone Rain the mulligan with playing colorless land, black mana, that sounds pretty appetizing. And Andrew just might just be laughing at the fact that, where are my Fire Impulses now?
Yeah. I will say, though, it looks like we do, at least just from the orientation of the cards, it looks like one of the cards in Eric's hand is a Fable, but we didn't have the red source, so we are in a really awkward spot. However, Blazemire Verge still does not tap for red.
No, because we don't have a swamp or a mountain, but it does tap for Unholy Annex.
We found the Annex, which I'm sure is going to get instantly negated, because that is a lot of card draw. Yep. There's a negate hitting the stack, and Eric's still going to be out of luck on red lands, but at least we are holding up black this entire time. Very much telegraphing a fatal push, which I don't think is the worst thing in the world.
Probably not.
Yeah, Andrew, we do not want to see a Shredder or a young Pyro coming out if we are in Eric's seat. Getting an opt here and scrying to the bottom. Just a pass.
No land.
Yeah. I mean, Phoenix can kind of survive on 3 lands and be okay. They do want more, but usually 3 is fine.
Having Eric stumble like this, though, and not being able to capitalize on the lack of red mana and the lack of any sort of action besides activate Mutavault swing is a little bit concerning, though, because even though the Phoenix deck is going to still be able to recover from some of these things, you are really going to be wanting to be proactive, and this Picklock Prankster, if it mills over all the lands...
All right, so it looks like we have Consider and Prankster. Very easy choice of the Prankster here because it's just seeing more cards and getting more card advantage. Yeah, there is definitely a Fatal Push in Eric's hand, so we are definitely telegraphing it, but that's not the worst thing in the world here. Finding land number 4, and yeah, I guess we're just playing a Prankster.
There we go. We already milled over 1 Prophetic Memory. Uncertain if there are others in the sideboard. Since we are on the Crackling Drake version, all signs point to no. So I don't think that this Picklock Prankster is going to be getting any bigger anytime soon. So Eric is probably not going to rip that Fatal Push anytime soon. Instead, just untaps for turn. Still lamenting the fact that there are no red lands, and now also lamenting the fact that this Mutavault can't attack.
Yeah, this is I will say, the likelihood of this happening, like, I have gone through and mapped out the mana base completely using Frank Carson's amazing resources. The likelihood of this happening is, like, less than 1%. So...
that's not a lot of percents.
Yeah, it is incredibly unlucky that Eric's stuck in this very precarious situation with his mana. honestly, I'm slamming the Archfiend here. It's the only play you have. It blocks the Prankster. It is annoying as hell for Andrew to deal with, and I wonder if there is the possibility of Disdainful Stroke. We do have the 2 mana up, but I don't see anything. Maybe this Archfiend is safe, and maybe we do have a clock, and no, it's just going to be the Prankster here. And there goes a Young Pyromancer, but we found a Treasure Cruise, so who cares?
Yeah, that's pretty good. I say Young Pyromancer hits the bin. It's usually one of 2 coming in from the sideboard, but now we have Treasure Cruise as well. So we're going to have 3 additional cards to be drawn on Andrew's turn if they so choose to. But it looks like we're just going to be playing second Picklock Prankster and passing, maybe? He's attacking.
Ooh, this is spicy.
There's a Lightning Axe in hand, isn't there?
Yeah, so this is one of those cases where
Maybe.
This is one of those cases where actually I would end up blocking because these are just vigilant dudes. Like, who cares? Like, they're going to still be able to block. So we're still going to die to the Lightning Axes anyway.
And we kind of want to at least use like our Archfiend as the Abyss at this point, because our Archfiend is going to kill us if we just sit here passively.
Yeah, it looks like we did miss a counter going down. So let's see if we can let the players know about it.
Is it Eric's turn, or is Andrew still thinking?
Yeah, we did go to Eric's turn. We did pass the turn. We have a go blank stack. So yeah. This is actually kind of big. If Andrew doesn't have that many cards in hand, this is going to be a lot of cards hitting the bin. And yeah, looks like Go Blank is resolving. Did we see how many cards Andrew had in hand? And including that Lightning Axe hitting the bin, that's kind of big. So I guess Lightning Axe number 2 probably?
Well, this is also very crucial because now Andrew, not using the Treasure Cruise, can't Treasure Cruise.
Yep.
So those Picklock Pranksters and the Picklock Pranksters is no good anymore.
Ooh,
is this Tears of Valakut?
Yeah, so when Andrew says that this was from 4 months ago, yes, this was from 4 months ago when, yes, indeed, Vein Ripper was in the format.
Dang, can't be countered by spells or abilities. 5 damage to target creature with flying. We're going to get a Fatal Push in response. That's still 4 damage coming across to Andrew's side. So Eric getting decent value out of having that Archfiend of the Dross. And like you mentioned, oh no, there's a Crackling Drake that hits the battlefield. So that's a good replacement for the Treasure Cruise that we wound up losing access to.
Yeah, so let's see what we get here. Is it possibly red mana? It may be tapped red mana, maybe not.
If we have a swamp, we have red mana.
Yeah, exactly. That's the irony here.
We could even use black mana to make our red mana.
Yep.
Eric is just not drawing lands.
All right, and we are unfortunately bought into attacking with both Mutavaults and only dealing 2. And
ooh, we had the black mana, but it's still not a swamp, so we don't have red mana, but it does get rid of the Crackling Drake.
that is actually kind of a big tempo play here because, yeah, we might have lost the Mutavault, but we still have our 4 mana, which is good, and we got rid of, frankly, the biggest threat on Andrew's side, another Axe hitting the bin. But we do have a Ledger Shredder, now a 2/4 because of the Connive, so let's see what else we end up having for Andrew. Land hitting the bin.
Interestingly enough, I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant here while we're waiting for Andrew to cycle through his turn here. We had Golgari Obliterator not playing Obliterator. This round, we have Izzet Phoenix, and we have yet to see a Phoenix.
Yeah, no Phoenixes have actually entered play this entire game, but we found a Blodletter of Aclazotz, which is instantly getting taken out by this this Tears of Valakut again.
A second Tears of Valakut.
Yeah, this is
Man, this card's pretty good.
Yeah, this is definitely from when Vein Ripper existed.
But, I mean, it's just funny to think, like, okay, we banned Sorin. Vein Ripper is not a problem anymore. We have these other big, giant flying demons that come into the play. I mean, one of them is a 6/6, so technically it wouldn't even die here. But still, this Tears of Valakut card is kind of showing up as a sideboard deck that still works. I mean, we have Angels in the format now, too.
Yep.
It works there.
Yeah, no big deal. We're just conniving twice and then drawing a bunch of cards, and oh lord. Are we
going to find a Phoenix, or are we just boating around with our Ledger Shredders?
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if the Phoenixes were boarded out in this matchup.
I mean, I could definitely see that in putting the Crackling Drakes and the Young Pyromancers in their stead. A lot of times you wind up boarding out the Phoenixes for some number of threats, but that means there's at least 2 Pyromancers and 2 Crackling Drakes. Otherwise, you usually wind up having one of those Phoenixes left over, unless it was turned into a Tears of Valakut.
All right, we finally found a red source, a Haunted Ridge. So we did not turn on the Blazemire Verge, but we can now play our Fable or our FOMO because those are our 2 red cards.
Those are the cards that are in Eric's hand.
All right, so unfortunately the Fable's too little too late, but at least the Goblin Shaman's going to start making some tokens here.
Does not make red.
Yeah.
Yep, and Eric's just remembering, oh wait, yeah, this needs a swamp specifically to make red, unfortunately,
yeah.
so can't
do both.
No. Yeah, so Fable and Mirror Breaker going to Chapter 1. We have our Goblin Shaman, and probably remove pretty quickly. And a 3rd Ledger Shredder, because why not?
And
a Crackling Drake.
No, Treasure Cruise. All right, we're going to get 3 Connive triggers. Connive number 1, nothing happens. Connive number 2, something happens. There goes a negate into the graveyard. Connive number 3, why not make it? Okay, only 1 more. So now we're going to draw 3 cards for our turn. There's a Lightning Axe. There's a Hall of Storm Giants. There's something I couldn't quite make out. But Andrew now, if he hadn't turned the corner already from Eric stumbling on mana, it definitely looks like it here as we're getting some birds flying in for 5 altogether, putting Eric down to 11. And this is now a 2-turn clock.
So oddly enough, I still think Eric actually is in a decent spot here. If we just have some sort of removal, because remember, Andrew is at 10. We do have 2 discard and draws here, so if we don't like the cards in hand, we can just get rid of them.
So we're probably pitching the non-FOMO card.
Or we're just pitching both, because I don't think either of them are really what you want to be doing here. FOMO is a redraw here, but attacking with the Goblin Shaman, which is really free here, we're not going to deal damage, but it is free because of the Ledger Shredder.
It does give us double treasure for potentially double red mana if we have a FOMO. Oh, we discard the Blodletter of Aclazotz and the FOMO.
And I think Eric is just like, I just drew 2 Blackcleave Cliffs, and I am hating my life.
Well, that's technically red mana. We can play one of those, and then we can activate our Castle Lockblade and only lose 2 life.
Oh, no.
It doesn't actually change our opponent's clock.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, Andrew actually takes the damage just in case there's some sort of damage or removal spell in Eric's hand.
Right, so at least we do have the Blackcleave Cliffs, but we also know it was just an axe and one other card.
One other card we couldn't quite make out.
Yeah. So we are just passing the turn here with our last card in hand on Eric's side. And it looks like, I mean...
All right, here's a consider. I mean, we Lightning Axe, and then we wind up having Connive triggers, which would be 3 additional damage on top of the 3, 4, 5, 6 here.
Up to 3, because there is a chance we might not have the spell.
It's still not lethal, so Andrew is not 100% incentivized to go for it here.
Yeah, I was actually kind of surprised we didn't just activate Hall here.
Hall and Smash?
Yeah, but...
I guess that taps us out.
So if there is a Fatal Push in hand, it is really awkward because we'd probably kill the Hall, frankly, because it's just so big. But
Look at all these Connives happening. 1, 2, 3. Oh, we still have the combo in our deck. Why not? We have the the Galvadic iteration.
Yeah, again, this is, as Andrew said, Phoenix from 4 months ago.
Oh, we're Galvadic iterationing.
To copy
sleight
a
of
sleight of
hand.
hand. Cool.
All right, so we're going to look at the top 2, put 1 in our hand, and then do it again 2 more times. So we're going to wind up with 3 cards in hand, looking at 6. And Eric actually counting library here. It looks like we might be very close to 10 cards left in library here for Andrew.
Yeah, and Eric kind of, Eric was on mill all weekend for modern RCQ, so it's just like, man, I really wish I had my Jaces and my Glimpsing Impossibles and all that stuff.
All right, how close is Eric to activating Castle Lockblade, trying to double spell and potentially mill Andrew out?
So that is not unheard of here. We are at 8. We have a Fable flipping, but that's not really doing anything. Making a demon, I think we found the Annex doesn't really do much.
Going out on my own terms, he says, as he's actually down to 1 off of that castle activation. He can activate his Mutavault.
Is there a world where I survive? I don't think
Oh, we have additional Mutavault.
Yep.
I make the demon.
Oh, okay. So he's making a demon. That's a 6/6. We're gonna go up to 3, but it's still lethal
Yeah, it's still lethal.
Yeah, because I end up with no mana. So it doesn't
because we don't have mana left over to copy our demon with our we can't even actually activate our Fable because it's still gonna be summoning sick.
Yeah, so this is... Seems like we have reached the end of the game here. I don't think that the... Yeah, I think Eric's just going to pass a turn here and let
You got it.
let the game wrap up.
All right.
Man.
Right on time, too, as the round is over, and that's going to be Andrew taking the round 2-1. Izzet Phoenix actually coming out on top over the Rakdos Demons deck, which unfortunately did have a mulligan to 5, mulligan to 6, and then was only the mono black demon. Sorry, mono black as in singleton black source
Yeah.
for its first 5 turns.
Yeah, that was...